Hello, beautiful homemakers. When I was growing up, there was a book in our church library that I loved to check out called Richard Scarry's A Story a Day. It had 365 short stories and poems, and my favorite one was Lucky Mrs. Hen on page 77. The story starts off with a dark rainstorm. Mrs. Hen decides to clean her house, while the neighbors just stare out the window and lament the rain, having wanted to work in their gardens. But little Mrs. Hen put on her apron and cleaned her house. When every corner was spick and span, she did her baking, clucking happily to herself. Then she made donuts. Just as she was sprinkling them with sugar, the rain stopped and pop! Out came the sun. "Just in time," clucked Mrs. Hen. "I'll wash windows." She did, and she cut her grass and planted her garden. Then, since the day was so beautiful, she packed a picnic basket. Then she asked all of her neighbors to go on a picnic, but each one said that the bright sunshine made their homes look so dirty that they had to clean them after weeding, and they couldn't just go gallivanting off any time they felt like it. They sounded very snippy, but she didn't notice. And the story ends. She waved goodbye, and without a care in the world, she went off to have her picnic in the beautiful, sunshiny, springtime woods. Back then, I couldn't see that doing your work first thing instead of moping could later result in being lucky by freeing up your time to do what you wanted. Of course I would clean my house if it rained, I thought. I'd love to. And it's pouring rain right now, and I'm not cleaning. Though today I can see the lucky wisdom of doing your work early and quickly every morning more than ever. How long did I go without doing a basic morning routine because I didn't feel like it? Little girls love to keep house. The nesting instinct is naturally ingrained, unless someone important in their life diminishes its value. Either an overwhelmed or sometimes lazy mother who hasn't yet learned how to properly keep house, or a father or other influential person who, not seeing the blessing in a wife who keeps house, demeans it. Often little girls enjoy making the beds, dusting, setting the table, etc., if they are allowed to let their imagination run while doing it, and not be micromanaged, bossed around, or have their work redone. I can remember doing these things and thinking that when I grew up I wanted to be a maid. But that is the power of being a little girl. Homekeeping is such fun that we think it will always be so. Remember that Eloise Wilkin book, We Help Mommy? I also remember going off to school and looking longingly back at my home in the morning sunshine. I wanted to be in the kitchen with the sunlight pouring on the counters, baking. I love sunlight shining into a mixing bowl. I wanted to make sure that all the beds were made and the house was picked up and dusted. I even wanted to hang laundry on the line like our neighbor did. Once I arrived home from school, the sunlight had shifted out of the house and into the backyard, so I typically played out there, unless it was too hot, and then I stayed inside to read. We would play with friends from 3 to 6, and dinner was at 6:30, and homework was begun at 7. How I would have loved to have been homeschooled. I would have learned to keep house when I was naturally interested in it, instead of having it demeaned while I was in school. Of course, little girls aren't dealing with bills, deep cleaning, feeding real babies on little sleep, and cooking. It gets a lot harder as we grow up. Unfortunately, Many women who do not keep their own house but hire it out still live with the illusion that it is easy and therefore demeaning. When these women decide to have children and come home to reality, they are the ones that get the biggest shock. Keeping one's house clean and organized, along with cooking and caring for yourself, husband, and children, while making ends meet on one income, really is a full-time endeavor. When I finally woke up to the fact that working for myself and my family was infinitely more pleasurable than working for others who reap the benefits of my labor, that it is actually easier to cut expenses than earn income, and is much more fun to stay home and do whatever I pleased whenever I wanted to, I also had to learn the hard way how to actually take care of my home, my child, and my husband, and that all the excuses were gone. Keeping house was supposed to be so easy, so why was it so hard? Reality is much more difficult than the fantasy our culture imparts. However, there is great news. Once you have decluttered your house, your life, and your thinking, once you have routines and have learned to cook nutritious food every day, and I'm still working on that one, and once you know what cleaning methods work best for you and your family, life starts to really hum. And I'll add, know your organizing style. Go to clutterbug.com. Every day, taking care of your family and home becomes more and more enjoyable the more you get into it. And that's the secret. Get really, really into homemaking and all it encompasses. When my son was little and the sunlight peeped into our kitchen, we'd have a picnic breakfast or lunch on the floor in the patch of sunlight on a blue and white checked cloth. Other days we'd picnic in the front or the backyard. Once a month we'd meet friends at the park for lunch. Being at home, you can really live in the moment without rushing and focus on the pleasures of each day. Get really, really into being the best Christian mother you can be. Remember that how you train your children is how they will train and treat your grandchildren. You can use the dark, stormy days of training little ones to your advantage so that pop, out on the other side comes lucky Mrs. You. And you'll be the one driving off with your husband and children to the sunshiny springtime woods as your neighbors bemoan their ill fortune, jealous how you, a simple housewife, can go gallivanting off whenever she feels like it because she doesn't work, you know. May God bless you and your family as you care for them and your home. And I wish you many sunshiny days and picnics at your house and in the woods. And as a P.S., Eloise Burns Wilkin was the mother of 4 children. I'm going to quote an excerpt of a remembrance written by Jane Werner Watson in 1987, which is found in its entirety in the back of a book called A Little Golden Book Collection of Eloise Wilkin Stories, 9 Beloved Classics, where Eloise was the illustrator. This is what Jane says of Eloise. She was a mother of 4 children. She drew and painted the chubby, wide-eyed, eager, but well-behaved toddlers every parent dreams of having. She placed her youngsters in idyllic rural setting with birds' nests in every branching tree. Look, don't touch. As well as daisies in the meadows for picking, scampering squirrels, shy bunnies, unpolluted brooks in which to wade, and hip-roofed red barns and neat farmyards behind solid homes of fieldstone or white clapboard around which the colorful seasons turned. A warm and creative homemaker, Eloise shared with the world glimpses of her big, busy, welcoming household, its rooms papered with gentle patterns, its drop-leaf tables and rocking chairs aglow with hand-rubbed sheen, its four-poster beds covered by hand-stitched quilts. A devoutly religious person, she shared ever so gently her values, her sense of the beauty of order and love, of implicit self-discipline, and of regard for others. In her voluminous work, she has left us, only slightly idealized, rich reminders of a lovely time not very long ago. When I was little, I didn't really care for Eloise's style of little golden books, but as an adult, I really love them. She married Sidney Wilkin in 1930, and she took a decade off from illustrating to raise her 4 children. Then in 1944, after she received an offer to illustrate 3 golden books a year, she agreed to do it only if she could work exclusively from her cobblestone home, and the editors accepted this. She illustrated over 100 books, and 47 of them were golden books. Eloise's sister, Esther Wilkin, wrote many of the little golden books, including the 3 baby books in the collection where that tribute was. Esther married Eloise's husband's brother, and this is why they both have the same surname, Wilkin. Johann Heinrich Pestalozzi said, "Our home joys are the most delightful earth affords, and the joy of parents in their children is the most holy joy of humanity. It makes their hearts pure and good. It lifts men up to their Father in heaven." May God bless you as you raise your children and have so much fun while doing so. Bye.